Welcome to the Friendly Frequencies podcast. I am your host, Carmen McLeod, and I am here to talk to you about my passion for spirituality and personal development. My purpose in life at this time is to remind you how powerful you truly are and that you create your own reality. If the mind, the soul, and the universe are topics that interest you, and you want to continue to evolve into your soul's purpose, then you are in the right place. Thank you for joining me as I travel the world and record my journey through self-discovery. Hello everyone, I am coming to you live from, I'm actually coming to you live this time because I'm doing my podcast today I'm testing it out to try and do my podcast at the same time live on Instagram at the same time as filming it. So I literally am coming to you live this time. So I'm going to talk to you today about my recent experience at my course. The breakthrough course, it's called Next Level. It used to be called Boston Breakthrough Academy. I've mentioned a little bit about this in my past episodes, and I told you that I wasn't going to be telling you about it until this week because, as some of you know, I had done the first section of the course, which was 2 weeks ago. It's spread out like between every 2 weeks, then there's another weekend of the course. So the first week was the discovery week, and for that week I didn't really have like enough to say about it. I still had a lot of questions going on in my own head about what I don't know. I didn't feel like I was ready to make a podcast about it because I just didn't really get the whole breakthrough for myself until this week. So I decided to just leave it all into one, and it's still not even done. I'm only halfway through. So I've completed 2 separate weekends out of 6. And there's 3 stages. The third stage is 3 separate weekends. It's a lot. This is a lot of hours being put into this. And not only that, it is also opposite time zones. So I've been working from about 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. every day that I'm in this course. So it's completely opposite time zone because it's most of the people in the course are in the US, a few people from Canada. So it's really long. There's no breaks. The only breaks you get are when you can go run to the bathroom basically, and then when you're having your meal breaks, you're doing things with your power group, and so you're really not getting any breaks in the entire 12 hours. And that sounds grueling, I know, but I actually, it goes by so quickly because it's so intense and so exciting and just so crazy and grueling, but in a good way, because it's growing you completely. And so it goes by so quickly, for me at least. I never really even checked the time the whole time. And I, especially in the first weekend, I found it was quite hard to deal with the time difference, and I got really tired around 4 a.m. But this weekend, for the second weekend, it was so intense and so much, just so intense that I was not tired the whole time. I couldn't even sleep afterwards, and it was 10 a.m. or noon, and I'm still haven't slept, and I don't even need to. So really intense course, okay, really, really emotionally intense. But let me tell you exactly kind of what the course is actually about, because I haven't really done that. It's basically an intensive emotional intelligence and leadership course. So it is it's developing leadership. It's developing the leadership in you. And my brothers both took this course. That's how I heard about it. And they both transformed a lot because of it. So my oldest brother did it. He transformed a lot, and then he got Hugh, my other brother, to do it, and then Hugh got me to do it. And so now we've all done it, and I'm still only halfway through. So I'm going to talk today about what I got from the course, and it's going to be probably a bit of a longer episode because it's a long story. Oh my gosh. First weekend, not so much to say. Personally, I didn't get so much out of it. But that's not to say that the first weekend is not powerful. It's just that, like other people, I saw some crazy, amazing transformations in the first weekend, and I did not, I personally didn't get those like transformations in the first weekend just because of, I don't know, where I was at in my life. But like other people, I saw some amazing things come through for them. For me, what happened was for the second weekend, I had some major transformations, which I will tell you about the breakthroughs that I had there. So first, let's see. Okay, so let me tell you about the Discovery Weekend, the first weekend. The Discovery Weekend is a lot about basically figuring out what is holding you back in life. And it's diving into all of the things about yourself that are holding you back, or the things about, it's all about yourself. Like every person's individual experience is different, but it applies to everyone because everybody has things that are holding them back. So in the first weekend, and I think this is why I was not able to have the most profound experience in the first weekend, is because I was really in my ego thinking that, as much as I wanted to find I knew that there was things about myself that I could fix, or that that aren't perfect. I still just couldn't really see them because my ego was a little bit too high. Personally, I think that I've just been getting so much positive feedback from everybody, and that has gone to my head a lot, I think. And I also have quite high self-esteem, and it's great. It's awesome having all the self-confidence in the world, but like also it has inflated my ego and made me quite arrogant in a way, or like I don't see the faults in myself that are clearly there. And so that's a huge part of this course, is identifying the parts of yourself that you need to work on, or the parts of yourself that are holding you back. So the first weekend, couldn't really see them, and I also don't have so much trauma. Like I've had traumatic things happen to me, or I've had technically quote unquote trauma in my life, but I don't feel any like pain around them, or at least not anymore. Like I'm pretty, I don't know, I just feel like very, like I don't have anything to really work on around like my past. I don't have things that I still feel are like painful for me. And so I think that's why I didn't really like I didn't feel like I needed the first weekend, and I'm sure I did, and I, participated fully to the best of my ability, but I just was like, okay, well, I don't know. And I'm also so like far into the personal development world, and I've done pretty intense courses before where I'm like, okay, I feel like I've already worked through this. So, that was just my experience the first weekend. And so anyways, that's what the point of the first weekend is. It's like, let's dig through the gutter, like go deep into your shit, like go deep into the stuff that's just kind of weighing you down, holding you back, whatever it is. And so the breakthrough weekend, which is the second weekend, which is the one I just completed, is more so about who are you and what do you want in life. And this one, we still did a lot of digging deep into like what is holding us back. And this one is okay. Let me just give you some context. The first weekend, the people who are instructing this, the coaches, or the person who was leading this, he said this weekend, the first weekend, is a 2 out of 10 intensity on a scale of 1 to 10. And he said, but just be prepared because the second weekend, the breakthrough weekend, is going to be a 10 out of 10 intensity. Actually, he said 1 out of 10 for the first weekend and then 10 out of 10 for the second weekend, which got me really excited because I was like, good, bring it on. Like, this is nothing to me. And I'd say he was pretty spot on. Like, I felt like it was really an intense weekend, this last one. So I really got to see who am I and what do I want. Now, I have been pretty clear on what I want in general, but I now have a crystal clear idea of who I want to be, what I want to embody, and it's just like so set in stone and so clear in my mind now. and it's very like declared to the universe in a way that it has never been before. And that's the, that's an exciting part, but also I got to break down my ego finally and actually see, whoa, okay, you are far from perfect, my friend. You have got ways to go. So, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be able to see past my ego and the things that I need to work on. So, and that's exactly what happened. So that's the point of the breakthrough weekend. The VIP weekend is the third section, which is split into 3 weekends, and that I obviously haven't done yet, but basically the point of that is to now take action on making your vision a reality and using that vision to change the world is essentially the third weekend or the third section. So obviously not going to talk about that yet, but I'm just going to start by talking about some of the breakdowns and the breakthroughs that happen through those breakdowns. I had a lot of breakdowns this weekend. It has been a stressful weekend, so beyond stressful, and it was not the way that I thought, not the kind of stressful I thought it would be. It was, for a lot of people, it's like very emotionally intense, and it was for me as well, but a huge portion of my breakdowns happened around like me screwing myself over a few big times in this course, where one, I had huge issues with connection, like cellular connection. And so I'm on a remote island, as you guys know. I'm in a place where they don't have good internet connection at all. Like, it's a tiny island, like maybe like 50 people live here. And I thought that they would have like some way of me connecting, and they do. Like, I can still reach some connection, but you need really good connection to be on Zoom with like 100 different people. So it was working actually. So anyways, the day before it started, I was so stressed out trying to make just wondering if it was even going to work, because I tested it out and it didn't seem like very good connection. So I was worried because this course is freaking expensive, you guys, like thousands of dollars. So I'm like, okay, well, this is really like a lot is on the line right now. Am I going to have to like cancel it and redo another time? Which I did have that option, but I didn't want to do that, of course. So I gave it a try, and actually the connection was working for quite a few hours, like really great. And I was so happy. And though I was taking the course for the first few hours with like people doing karaoke right beside me, because there's only one spot that you can get cellular connection. I did this whole thing on data, by the way, like for the first day. And so I was in the one spot where that has cellular connection, which is at the bar, or like just outside the bar. And the bar doesn't have walls, it's just a hut. So everybody's screaming their karaoke, partying, all this, because like I said, for me, it starts at 10 p.m. So for the first few hours, I couldn't even talk. But it wasn't like I had to talk. It was just like, put your hand up if you want to contribute to this. But it was mostly just listening to the main guy who led it just for the first like little while. So that was okay. But unfortunately, I did want to say something at some point, and I tried to. And I actually they were like, okay, no, we can't hear you. There's karaoke going on in the background. I was like, damn it. Okay. But still, no problem. So then by the time like 4 a.m., around 4 a.m. comes around, my connection starts to get worse and worse throughout the night. And it's quite frustrating, but, I still made it work. It was not like completely getting in the way of my experience. But, so at one point I had gone through 7 gigabytes of data. I thought I prepared for this well enough. And see, this is where it comes into it being my fault. Like, I take responsibility for this, because it was, I went through the whole 7 gigabytes that I had planned for, and then I missed, and of course this happened right as we were starting a really important exercise with our power group, which is like a subgroup of, we were split into power groups to work through exercises during breaks and stuff. And this was like a key exercise that was the very first one that we did, and it was, quite important. And I missed it. So, or at least I missed most of it. And I hopped back on the call after buying more data and just kind of broke down. And I don't cry in front of people often. I don't cry often in general, but I cried in front of these people. And I just said, I feel so I feel so horrible right now because, one, I didn't prepare. This was totally my fault. I can't even blame the connection. I literally have only myself to blame. I didn't prepare enough data for myself, and then it took me about 15 minutes to get back on, 20 minutes. And I was like, and I just feel like I let you guys all down. And this was our first exercise, and this is how I started it out, and this is how, so I just feel like I let you all down, and I affected your experience. And of course, everyone was super understanding, held space for me to just get it all together, and it was no problem. But for me, it was a really hard, just because it was just such a stressful few days, right? And it was not even over yet, and I was having so many issues. So that was kind of the first breakdown, and moved on, and still had connectivity issues the rest of the day. And it was getting so much worse where I would speak, and it would be so lagged that I would be completely interrupting somebody, but not by there would be a space for me to talk. I would talk, but because it was so lagged, someone else would already have started talking, and then I'm completely cutting them off, and then they get interrupted, and then they're like, oh, what's going on? Like, oh, do you have something to say? And at that point I'm like, okay, well, there was nothing I could do about that, but that's still me affecting other people's experience because I didn't have enough internet connection, cellular connection. So that was really frustrating, and it just got harder and harder throughout the night. And it ended at 10 or 11 a.m. And at that point, I'm sleep deprived. Of course, I've been pulling an all-nighter, had all of these issues, and had spent the last 48 hours completely stressed out, just trying to figure out the internet. I spent a full 2 days trying to figure out the internet, trying to make it work. And after all of the effort I had put into it, it still quite screwed me over. So, kind of broke down again. Had talked with somebody on the phone who was in my group, and he just allowed me to break down, and was able to kind of help me through that. And I was just really tired and frustrated and upset and stressed out because, oh, okay, this is only day one. So what am I supposed to do for the rest of the weekend? And so this leads into my next dilemma that came up, and this wasn't necessarily a breakdown, but it was just, my next decision that I needed to make was, okay, am I going to stay here on the island and not continue the course? Because there's no way I could continue the course like that. I was not going to put myself in that situation again. So I either take the rest of the course another time, that was an option for me, or I can go travel about 2 hours into town to a different town that I had came from originally, take, the rest of the weekend from a hotel. So I was prepared to do that because I'm all in. I'm not, I'm really not prepared to give up right now. I just want to keep pushing for it, keep going. But my dilemma then came up where I was like, okay, but my commitment is to be here right now. My first commitment was to this island, to the Isla Experience, which is the resort that I'm staying at, the one that I'm doing artwork at. They were my first commitment. I've been committed to coming to this place and working here at this time for almost a year now. I have had these plans, right? So then it kind of, and just as related to this, a huge theme of the course that comes up for everything is how you do one thing is how you do everything. I already had this quote in my head a lot. I've heard this through other people, and I hope you guys can't hear the music. Someone just turned music on. But yeah, so how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so that kind of starts playing in my head a lot. And I started to think, okay, so my first commitment was this place. And so if I was to leave and do what I think is more important, I do think the course is more important, but that's not my first commitment. Technically, that was my second commitment. So I had a little bit of an issue here where I was like, oh, okay, I'm not sure what to do. So I talked with one of my dad's friends because I was lucky enough to have two of my dad's best friends in the world were in the course with me. One of them was doing the course in the same position as myself, in the course. And then his other friend was one of the captains kind of leading the course and just running the course from the sidelines kind of thing. And so I talked to that friend of his, and because he's just a kick-ass guy, and I just knew that he'd be able to help me. And so I called him on the phone, and we talked, and it was honestly a short conversation because he was just easily able to fix my problem, like, immediately. So I'm really thankful for that. He was, I told him, so I don't know, like, this is, I just told him what I just told you guys. And he said, okay, he didn't tell me what to do, but he told me this is actually something that I've tried to figure out in my own life, which is around his business and career. He was trying to decide on, well, what's my first commitments? Like, is it, or what do I choose between my commitments? Is it what I decided on first, what I committed to first, or is it what's like more important to me? Like, he was trying to figure that out as well. And he said what he figured out is that it's, for himself, it's not about the chronological order of what his commitments are. It's actually the priorities that he has. It's the level of priorities that he has, and what is the biggest impact that's going to happen based on his choice for himself and for everybody around him. And so that completely answered my question. I said, oh, easy. Okay. Well, I totally agree. For one, I agree with you right now. That makes a lot of sense. Right now, the chronological order is me staying here. But my priority right now is to finish this course, to get to be in this course right now. And the most impact that it's going to have on myself and those around me is going to be doing this course, including the people here at the resort. Like, me taking this course is going to impact everybody around me, everybody. And like, every person that I come in contact with now is going to feel the effects that I have based on this course, because that's how powerful it is. So I obviously decided, okay, I guess I'm packing my bags and heading into town. Took a boat ride over to the mainland, traveled to a hotel that same day, still on no sleep. Had not gone to sleep yet because I ended up finishing up some work here, figuring out this decision, and literally just between doing all of this and then having to spend time to get over there, I had no sleep still in about 48 hours or so. So I get to the hotel. I was able to get about 2 hours of sleep, luckily, but I was like, okay, that's not good. But I was able to make it through, no problem. So that day was good. No breakdowns, I don't think, happened that's on day 2. So there's kind of the explanation of what happened there. That was like how what happened to kind of like to bring this all together. That first breakdown, bring it all together, is, the breakdown was my internet, which was my responsibility, my fault. So what I learned from that is, when you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. And that's not my quote. I've heard this somewhere else from a different person, but that's like what I took from it. I failed to prepare. I thought that I had prepared everything, but I failed to prepare everything that I needed. I did not prepare enough data. I did not prepare, for all of this. And so, yeah, and then what I got to learn from that was that, and also I got to learn the wisdom from my dad's friend, who was able to tell me his wisdom around commitments versus priorities. And so that was really valuable, and that's going to be something that I remember throughout my rest of my life. So I'm really grateful. So, it's really important to be able to see the value that comes out of every mistake. And, for me, I don't see anything as a mistake. Like, any decision that may have seemed to be a bad decision or wrong decision, I don't see it as that. I just see it as, I clearly needed to learn something here, and that's what I needed to learn at that point. So I was not regretting anything. I was, I just knew that, okay, well, this is something I needed to learn, and there's going to be value that comes out of this situation. And that's how I view all my breakdowns, as hard as they are, because the next breakdown that happened was even so much harder on me, and literally this one was a lot harder to get over, but I'm, and I'm still kind of working on it, to be honest, because this one was so painful that I just, like, it makes me really, like, it really makes me genuinely physically cringe when I think about it. And so I'll tell you about that one now, I guess. So on the last day So on the second last day at the end, we kind of had an assignment to, as a group, all of us in the course were to get together and to come up with a vision for all of us. So we each have our own individual visions, which I'll share with you mine later. But as a team, as a group, all of us, about all 50 or 70 or however many people we are, I don't even know, came together to come up with a vision for all of us as one vision. And one person was to take the lead on creating a piece of artwork for that. And I obviously was like, yeah, I'll do something on Photoshop. I'd love to. And I did. And I worked pretty hard on it, spent a few hours on it, made the most beautiful thing ever. Like I really loved it. And sent it. What I thought was that I sent it to the group, and I don't think it actually made it through. I don't know what happened there, to be honest. But they didn't receive it, or they weren't able to upload it. So what they were supposed to do, or what the group was supposed to do, was like, once I give them my artwork, is like put it up as their background. But I think that when I sent it, it didn't go through to them, or whatever happened. I'm not sure. So I sent it to them around, well, for you guys, for you listening, it would have been 3:30 in the morning. For me, it was like, I'm not sure what time in the afternoon, but I still hadn't slept yet. And so I go to sleep, set my alarm, don't know what happens, but guess what happened? I slept in. I did not wake up for the course. And this is like obviously my worst nightmare for anything. And I've since every single day, like this was so traumatic for me that every single day since then, I have woken up in like a panic state, which is not good. I actually wake up panicking every morning, not like a panic attack, but like thinking that I'm missing a course. Like every single morning I've woken up thinking, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be on a call right now, and I'm not. And like, so that's how hard this breakdown was for me. Is it really affected me. So I wake up, one of my team members had called me like 10 times. A bunch of my team members called me, and I finally woke up, and it was 11:30 p.m. and the start time was supposed to be 11 p.m. And so what they did was everyone kind of renegotiated the start time, because we don't start without everybody being present. So everybody had to wait for me. And that's so much worse than me just like missing part of the day. Like, no, everybody is waiting for me to wake up. And so of course that was horrible to wake up so I wake up, I'm frantically like, oh my gosh, okay. So I get myself on the Zoom call, and then everyone's still trying to figure out putting out the artwork onto their computer. And what had happened was, so when I get on the Zoom call, I see that they have somebody else's artwork on there. So not only did I just miss part of not only am I late, which is a really big no-no on this kind of course. This is a leadership course. Like, you do not be late. You are impeccable with everything that you do. That's what the expectation is. That's what the standard is here, right? And I was late. And I get on and I see that everybody has a different person's artwork on there. So, I mean, luckily another girl stepped up, which I appreciate her for, stepped up and just created something kind of on the spot to replace the artwork that I didn't have ready for them, that they didn't have of mine. And so I get on there and it's somebody else's artwork. So not only am I late, but also all the work that I put into this beautiful piece of artwork of mine was now not even being used. And of course, once again, my fault completely. But so that was pretty painful. And so I get on there, I put her artwork onto mine, like, because we all need to have it on there, and we continue on. And then when I was able to get some feedback from everybody, everybody was quite patient with me and like giving me a lot of grace, because everybody knows that I'm in the Philippines. I'm doing things from an opposite time zone. Everybody knows how many issues I've been having. Like, they all understand and have seen me in this struggle of my experience in this course. So everybody kind of knows what I've been going through. And so everybody cut me a lot of slack, and I appreciate that. And so they, obviously tried to make me feel better, but I still felt still felt terrible about it. And so that one was that one was harder because it wasn't like, I already had felt like I thought that I had learned the lesson of poor preparation. I thought that I had, experienced for the first experience, the first breakdown I had was around poor preparation. So I thought that, okay, you know what, that was hard, but now I learned from it and I'm going to prepare for things. I'm going to be more thorough in my preparation for everything. So you would think that, it wouldn't take another breakdown for me to still feel like, oh, okay, so I clearly am still not preparing for things properly. So I had to had to experience this all over again, where an even worse breakdown, where it affected even more people. And sorry, I'm kind of losing my train of thought. So I had to learn this lesson again in an even harder way, where I clearly didn't prepare for things enough. I still don't know what happened. I don't know about my alarm. Don't know if I slept through it. I must have slept through it just because I'm so sleep deprived. So that's still 100% my fault, full responsibility. And so but the positives that I'm seeing out of this situation it really gave our whole team, a chance for growth and learning for all of us, and able to, everybody was able to step up and when one team member falls down, aka me, was falling down, the leaders were able to step up and figure out what are we going to do to support her and to figure out what we're going to do as a team to make sure, it's a very team oriented thing. And then it gave the other girl, Julie, the chance to step up and say, I will make the artwork. And, everybody was able to step up in a way that supported me and the team in still being successful and still committing to our word. So what everybody saw everybody was able to see it as a positive thing, including the leader of the of the course. And of course, I was still I was the one that really felt the worst about it, of course, but I was able to still move on and still take this as a learning process. So it was things like this where I had to really fall on my face in order to learn the lessons and learn things about myself. And I think this is what it required. I think this is what needed to happen in order for me to step out of my high horse and my ego and my self-righteousness of, I don't need this course, I'm perfect, I'm doing all of this personal development, this is nothing new to me. So I was, as much as I didn't want to be like that, that's still how I was being the whole time, up until I fell on my face like this on day 1 and day 4. That really was what it took for me to just get shaken out of my ego completely. And so I do see it as a positive. I see it as that's what I needed to do, or that's what needed to happen for me to step into more of a humble place and and to learn the hard truths about myself, that I'm not preparing for things well enough. And so, how I said, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Well, I've noticed that I don't prepare for things very well in my everyday life. So at home, or not at home, well, yeah, at home, everywhere. But another example is when I missed my flight, which I did a whole podcast episode on this, which was a very profound experience, which was an amazing learning experience for me, and actually turned out to be just a really cool thing that, I don't know, happened. But in the moment, it was traumatizing. It was horrible. And it was me failing to prepare for my flight, totally. And I thought that I would have learned the lesson from that, but clearly not. Clearly it's taking more and more of these hard lessons of me. And I also missed a boat on my way over here, which caused me to be stuck in a sketchy town for a few days. So, these lessons are being thrown at me, and I think that I learn them, but I don't actually take them and apply them too much or enough in my life, where so yeah, basically I needed to fall on my face again and again and again, and the consequences are getting harder and harder and worse and worse. And it's the universe is saying, okay, are you gonna listen this time? No? Okay, well then I'm throwing another thing at you. Let's see if you take the lesson, and once you do, then you're gonna have a much easier time in life. So I'm very thankful for these things that happened to me. As hard as they were in the moment, I am I am seeing the blessings that come out of it. And so, and what my brother said on the phone was, I told him about these breakdowns and how I've been falling on my face in front of everybody, and it's been really hard, and, obviously like shaking my ego and up and stuff, and he responded, because like I said, he did the course. He said, he's like, that's good, because it's the place to fall on your face in a safe space. And I wrote it down in my book. I'm like, okay, that's an awesome quote. Like, my team's going to love this. I fell on my face in a safe space. If I'm going to fall on my face anywhere, that was the place to do it, because I've never had more support in my life. Like, never felt so loved, so supported, so encouraged by everybody. Like, that was the place to do it. And that was the best place that I could have learned these lessons. And so now, what am I going to talk about now? Okay, so that was only the first. Okay, so I'm just going to say I had 2 major kind of breakthroughs from this course. That was number 1, and that was a long story, so thank you for bearing with me. But that was kind of the breakthrough number 1, where I got to learn these lessons and break out of my ego. So the second breakthrough is actually the more significant one for me, that I'm like way more excited about, because I didn't have to learn such a hard lesson from it. I didn't have to fall on my face to learn this lesson. It was just something I learned through a really, really, really powerful exercise that I definitely can't tell you what the exercise was. Just because, like, if anybody is to do the course, which I hope that everybody does the course, but if I tell you the exercise, it's going to ruin it for you in your experience. That's why I can't tell you anything that really happens, but I'm just telling you my experience. What I learned through this exercise is the most powerful thing that I've gotten from the course. Like, if I had to pick one thing, this was the most. And this one I am so excited about, because I'm already applying it in my life with everybody that I come in contact with everything that I do now. I am doing it from this context of what I learned from this exercise. So I'll tell you about what I learned about myself, because like I said, everybody learns something different through the one exercise. Everybody experiences it differently and learns something about themselves that's completely unique to themselves and how they live their life. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Like, how is this showing up in your life? That's the point of the whole course. So it's really powerful stuff. So here's what I learned about myself in this exercise. I learned that I am playing it small. Or no, okay, let me rephrase that. I am playing it average. I am playing it so average in, not necessarily in life, but in my connections with people. And, connections with people in a way is life. So yeah, in my life, I'm playing it average. I've spent so much time feeling like I'm so advanced, I'm so, look at me, I'm traveling the world, I'm living my dreams, I'm only 23, like, because this is something I hear from people so often. And so it's, like I said, it's gone to my head, it's gone to my ego. I feel like I've just had such an ego boost from everybody, everybody telling me, you're so wise for your age, like you're doing so much at your age. And also comparing myself to people who maybe are not like living their purposes and who are doing less with their lives from my perspective. Like, when I compare myself to other people who are maybe doing like not so much, that also boosts my ego. So where was I going with this? So through this, I thought that I was so anyway, I had such a high, like an arrogant view of myself. I thought that I just had, so much going for myself, which I do, but like, I didn't see this one area of my life where I'm actually totally average. I am not going above and beyond in this area of my life anymore. I wasn't. Now I've committed to obviously going above and beyond in this area, but before I was not. I was playing it average in my connections with other people. I was not winning friends and influencing people the way I thought that I was. I thought that I was totally doing this. I thought that that's who I was. But I actually was completely average in this. And through this exercise, I was able to realize that I have so much more to grow in this area. Like, I'm totally average. So there are certain people in the course who are just natural born leaders, or maybe not naturally born, but who are leaders. However they came about doing this, maybe they, through their life experience, through whatever it is. But there's a few people specifically in our course who are just they are leaders, and I strive to be like that level of leadership, because that's the kind of career I want to go into. That's the kind of person I want to be. Is I want to be a leader. And I've not been a leader in this course. Now, I have not been one of the people who doesn't say anything. I definitely am not afraid to talk, and I'm happy to step into leadership roles. Like, I actually really want to, but I'm definitely not one of the people who is at the top of the leadership, if you were to scale it out between the people. So I'm just right in the middle, right? I've made some beautiful connections with people in the group, but more so with just the people who are in my breakout or in my power group. And I've made beautiful connections that way, but not with everybody in the whole course. And there are certain people who have reached out and have actually made an effort to connect with everybody in the course. And that's just the kind of person that they are. And I've learned a lot from those few people, and I want to be like them. I really look up to them. And through this exercise, they were able to see how being those kind of leaders is going to impact their life, and how it is impacting their life, and how it shows up in their life. And then for the people who, kind of are completely withdrawn and are not connecting with other people, like they were able to see that, how that shows up in their life. And for me, I was one of the average people. And this was really shocking to me. Like, I did not know that. I didn't know I was average. I thought that I was just like a kick-ass, above and beyond person. Like, I did not think that I was average. Average is never a term I would use to describe myself. So this was like a huge moment for me. And I'm so excited. I was immediately so excited to learn this about myself. It wasn't like I felt like, oh, this is hard on my ego. Like, no, I was like, awesome. Like, this is somewhere where I can grow. Excuse me, I'm drinking water. So, yeah, no more playing at average. Like, this is a much shorter story. So, since I can't tell you how I came to this conclusion, I'm just going to tell you the conclusion. It's no more playing at average. I'm going above and beyond for people from now on. I am going to, go above and beyond, do whatever it takes to win friends and influence people to a level that I have never done before. My mom is somebody who does this a lot. She wins friends and influences people, and yes, she read the book, of course, and she really not only read the book like 20, 30 years ago, whenever she read it, but she applied the book, and she really lives the book, and she wins friends and influences people to a level that I strive to be like, and I'm not at that level yet at all, and definitely not yet, but I am on my way there, because now that I'm aware of this, and I can give you a few examples of how I was before and how I am now, because I've already made the shift, and of course I'm still on my way I'm still not exactly where I want to be around this, but I'll tell you where I was before. I was playing at average in the way of I would not talk to, I don't like make conversations with strangers. Now, I am obviously a Canadian, so I'm still quite polite. I say hello to everybody, and I say thank you for everything. And I will not leave a room without saying goodbye to everyone. So, but that's like the minimum around being polite. Like I'm very polite when it comes to like my actions, or, I'll always do the dishes. I'll always make sure to, all of this kind of thing. But for me, that's the minimum. Now, a lot of people don't even do the minimum, which is another story. But for me, that was just because I was raised with a strict dad. Thank God for that. But I'm not going above and beyond by doing those things. I'm just doing the minimum for what I think is the minimum of just being polite and just doing what I think is required of myself as a decent human being. But that's average. That's so average. What I want to start doing is when I see somebody at the coffee shop or whatever in the line, spark up a conversation with them, tell them how much I love their outfit, or ask them a question, or just say something that'll brighten their day, pay for their coffee. Generosity is another thing that is incorporated into my new goals for myself and is part of my vision. And things like this, that's going above and beyond for people. And another example, when I was at the last place that I was staying in Mindoro in the Philippines, I did not learn everybody's name, and I was there for 3 weeks. So I ended up learning everyone's name by the 3rd week, but the first 2 weeks I only learned the people's names who actually like really interacted with me. So there was quite a few staff there, but I had plenty of time to learn everyone's name, and I didn't even learn the names of the people who were kind of withdrawn from me because not everybody spoke good English. So those that did speak good English or, were able to, obviously they interacted with me more, and those were the people whose names I learned. And I think it was just out of a embarrassment thing where like I couldn't remember it after the first couple times they told me, so I would just pretend that I knew it and I would just never say their name. And that was something that I completely, after my experience there, I completely committed to never doing that again. I will ask somebody 5, 10, 15 times if I need to what their name is. Now, I definitely don't need to ask that many times. It usually takes me 2 or 3 times because I'm quite diligent around it. Like, I genuinely want to know everybody's name. And I link it with something in my head, like with a picture or somebody else's name, where I'm able to remember it much easier. But I'm actually making that conscious effort. Now, let me sidebar, okay? Because everybody, I'm dead serious, I swear, every single person says, oh, I'm terrible with names. And I was one of those people not so long ago who said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. I'm probably going to forget your name. That is not me anymore. That is so not me, because that's average. That's what everyone says. And that's not true. It's not that you're terrible with names. It's that you don't care enough to remember people's names. Now, I care a lot about remembering people's names now, because that's like a huge part of winning friends and influencing people, is learning their name and repeating their name back to them many times throughout conversations. Because, as Dale Carnegie, I'm pretty sure it's Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, like as he says, a person's favorite word, everybody's favorite word is their own name. So when you don't learn their name, they know it and they feel it and they change their perception of you. When you say their name back to them, it really affects the way that you can connect with them. And I've always known this, and over the last 6 months or so, like before the course, I've already been kind of working on this, but especially after my experience in Mindoro, like I was so disappointed at myself the whole time, wasting so much energy on the fact that whenever I would want to say someone's name, I couldn't say it, and it had already been 2 weeks, so I can't ask them now. Like, that's so embarrassing, and so like I feel like I'd offend them or something. So I spent and wasted so much energy, you guys, so much energy not knowing people's names, when I could have just asked for clarification in the beginning. So I learned that lesson, and I've taken it into this new place with me. I've asked people here their names a couple times, and I'm not afraid to anymore, because I know that it's actually totally in my own head that I think that they're going to be offended, but no, like it's if anything, they're going to be flattered that I care so much about what their name is that I'm willing to ask them multiple times. So that's a huge one. The names, learning people's names. And especially now, after realizing that I'm average in connecting with people, that was one major area of that. Now I'm going above and beyond to remember people's names. I'm playing out full stories in my head, linking it with images, like going above and beyond to remember people's names. I am, and so, yeah, that's just like kind of an example of this as well. So this is something I am super duper excited about, because, I want to see where I can grow. I've always wanted to see these things. It's not like I had this ego barrier of like, I don't want to see these things in myself, so I choose not to, or I just think that I'm so perfect. Like, I knew I wasn't perfect. I just couldn't see where I wasn't perfect at. Like, I mean, I'm not perfect at anything, but like, I just couldn't see. I could not have any roadmap of like, where can I improve? I just only saw the good in myself. And I now have broken past that. I've broken through. So let's see what's next. Yeah, so through this weekend, I really saw how far that I can stretch myself. This is another thing that I learned through, especially through the falling on my face kind of breakdown situations, Like, I saw how far that I can stretch myself and how far I can really push myself to get what I want and to do what I want to do. This was a huge experience for me because I had to go through so much more. Like, what everybody else already had normally for them. You know, everybody took this course from their homes at a regular time, and, you know, with all of the things that they need right in front of them, proper internet, everything that they need. And for me, I had to bend myself backwards, completely, just like, when I think about my experience, I literally picture myself running through the jungle, dirty, scratched, beaten up, and I have someone it's like Jungle Run or Temple Run, you know, that game, like someone throwing logs at me and I'm jumping over it, and then I get hit and I fall down, and then I have to get back up, and I'm getting my ass beat by the world, and that's what it felt like. And so I was able to see how far I can stretch myself, how far I can push myself past these experiences and just not give up, never give up. I was so resilient this weekend, and I've received that kind of feedback from a lot of people where I was able to, where people acknowledged me for my perseverance and, you know, seeing how much I had to work to do this. So I was able to stretch myself so far and farther than I ever thought I would need to, that I could. And I was also able to see that, well, that's still not as far as I can go. I can go much further than that. I can stretch myself further. So hopefully I don't need to stretch myself too much further, like in this area of falling on my face, because I'd rather not experience that kind of stuff again. But at least I know that I can. So, and I'm going to tell you an amazing quote that I heard from the course, which is, only by being willing to go too far will I see how far I can go. Did I say that right? Yeah. By being willing to go too far, only by being willing to go too far will I know how far I can go. And that really represents beautifully what I had gone through and how my experience was. So, okay, so here are, since I'm still, I'm going to tell you guys, I have a bunch of things to say around this course. It's still not done. This is going to be a long episode, like I said. I'm going to tell you some of the things some of the feedback I got from people in the course, and about my character, and or about what people saw in me. And I'm just going to tell you the negative feedback, because I don't need to talk about, the positive feedback, I don't think that, that really, it was nice to hear, but that was not really what I needed to hear. Like I said, I have a good idea of all the positive things about myself, but it's the negative things that I needed to hear. And so I'm going to tell you I'm only going to tell you the things that I heard that I resonated with. Some of the stuff I heard, I was like, nah, that's not really me. In a way of when you hear feedback, and this is good advice for, I think, anybody in their life, when you hear feedback from somebody about yourself, you don't have to take every single thing to heart. But if one person says something and you feel like it doesn't resonate with you, cool, no problem. But if multiple people are telling you something about yourself, then that's when it's time to really listen up and look at yourself. And even if you don't agree, then there's, still acknowledge that there's a reason that many people are telling that to you. So some of these feedback that I got from people, it was either because multiple people had said it to me. Doesn't necessarily mean that I see it in myself at this point, but multiple people told me, and I'm definitely it must be something that I need to work on, or it is something that someone said to me even just once, but it was something that I'm like, yep, you're right. I see that in myself. So actually I'll start by saying here are the things that I saw in myself around the areas that I can grow, or the areas that are that have been holding me back. And I identified these in the first weekend, which are people pleasing, not wanting to be a bother to other people, poor preparation. This is what I learned in this most current weekend, obviously. Poor preparation and too trusting. So like, my whole thing around I trust the universe so much, I trust God, everything works out in my favor, I trust that everything happens for a reason. Like all of these mindsets, I think, kind of bit me in the ass, because I think that that's kind of part of the reason why I don't prepare for things well enough, where I just trust that everything's going to work out in my favor, and so I don't fully prepare for things that could possibly go wrong. And then, my ego, my high horse, my I know better attitude, that's something I already knew about myself, but, just being too full of myself, too selfish, or too self-absorbed. Okay, so now that was all the feedback I had for myself. Like, those were the things that I kind of knew about myself. Now I'm going to tell you guys some of the feedback I got from other people. Now, this was hard to hear, you guys, because of course, hearing feedback like this from other people, that's not something you do every day. You don't hear this kind of stuff every day. People are usually telling you like things that'll boost your ego, or tell you things that they like about you, but not every day are you hearing things about yourself that are what I think are negative, but it's not actually negative. It's neutral feedback. Like, it's not like they're telling you what they don't like about you. They're just telling you what they see that could be holding you back. So this came from coaches and from other people in the course. So feedback from others is I am arrogant. Okay, I'm going to say I was, because I don't really want to say that I am these things, because I feel like this is in the past. Anyways, they told me arrogant, false sense of enlightenment, message of love from an empty heart, disconnected, empty, hollow, distracted, phony, inauthentic, wallflower, playing dumb, and conceited. So these are all the things, and these are only a few of the things that I've heard about myself. And you might be thinking, wow, that's pretty intense that people would tell you these things. Like I don't want to do this course. Like, that sounds horrible. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's not easy. But these are the things you need to hear. These are the things that are essential for your growth. You need to hear these things about yourself, because you're not always able to see it yourself. And how are you going to grow to where you want to be in life if you can't even see the parts of yourself that are holding you back? That's exactly what I needed to hear. And I totally, a lot of these totally resonate with me. And yeah, so, I mean, two of them that are sting the most, I'd say, are message of love from an empty heart. Now, I don't feel like I have an empty heart at all, but that's just something I heard that I feel like was really like worth noting, just because like part of my vision is that I have a message of love to share with the world, and for a lot of people that came off as inauthentic. So I found this really interesting. Like, people didn't really believe me, or that they didn't think I was being authentic around what I feel like I need to share with the world. And that's something I need to look at myself around. Like, am I being authentic in this? I do feel like I am, but I think it might still be coming from a place of me thinking that I'm better than other people. That still is probably, I think that's still probably a factor there. So that's huge. Where is my message even coming from? I don't want it to come from an empty heart, right? And then the false sense of enlightenment. Now, that was hard to hear as well. Now, I don't think that I am enlightened, like, obviously, but in a way I kind of do, because enlightenment, I mean, is a very kind of misunderstood term, and everybody has their different ways of explaining it. And I can't remember how I explained it in a past episode, but when you think about it in the Buddhist sense, like, sure, I'm not necessarily enlightened, but when you think about it in the simple sense of, I'm happy, I'm content with where I am right now, I don't need anything more. I have all of these goals, but yet I'm still so happy with life right now, and I don't need those things to make me happy. But still, this view of myself is still coming off as inauthentic to some people. So it was worth noting. So kind of, quite vulnerable of me to share this in front of everybody, but I'm not actually afraid to say these things, because I'm not ashamed of any of this. Like, none of this is, I'm not ashamed to share these things about myself. It actually feels really nice to feel like I'm not thinking of myself as being perfect anymore. Because I know that all I talk, like so much of what I say is coming from a place of self-confidence, self-love, all of this, which is great, but it's kind of nice to be on the other end of it. And so from there, I guess I'm just going to tell you about 4 ways of being that I'm committed to embodying for the rest of my life, and also especially for the rest of the course. But I committed these. This was part of my homework. Like every day we had homework to do, just journaling prompts, and this was one that I really loved because these four things that I'm committed to embodying are just resonating so amazingly with me, and I'm so excited about them. And I swear, like, just embodying these 4 things are just going to change my life and just shoot me on the path of success. So, number 1, humble curiosity. I am committed to embodying humble curiosity. This is something I've had to repeat to myself over and over and over throughout the first weekend and the second weekend, because I was not being humble the first weekend. I was trying to be humble, but I'm like, oh, this is so lame. Like I'm not getting anything from this. Like I'm too good for this. I'm too, I don't need this, right? So I kept having to remind myself, humble curiosity, which is something I heard in the course that's from somebody. I'm like, humble curiosity. That's what I need right now. Stay humble. I need to stay humble. You're not perfect. So yes, humble curiosity. I'm going to continue with this course with humble curiosity. No matter how amazing I think I am, no matter how enlightened, or no matter how much personal development I do, or no matter how many books I've read, or how I was raised, or whatever it is, how amazing my mom is, doesn't matter. I still have a long way to go, and I have a lot to learn from these people. So that's number 1. Number 2, I am committed to embodying going above and beyond to win friends and influence people. And I've spoken enough around that, so you know what I mean when I say this. I am committed to embodying a relentless dedication to excellence. And this is around, and I love my wording on this, guys. I'm just, that gives me goosebumps to say. Just sounds so powerful. Like, I'm relentless in my dedication to excellence. And when I say this, I mean excellence in everything, but like really in my preparation. I need to, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. So I need to be excellent. My excellence around this preparation needs to be stepped up for sure. And the final one is I'm committed to giving and receiving feedback for the rest of my life. I'm no longer afraid to give feedback to other people. That's part of my people pleasing, is like if I had feedback to give somebody, I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to offend them or get into any conflict. And I am now willing to offer feedback to people when it's necessary. Like, I'm not going to obviously go around and saying, can I give you feedback? I feel like you need to work on this and this and this all the time. Like, no. But when it comes to somebody who's very close to me, who I think that could really benefit from this feedback that I see, I think I'm definitely not going to be shying away from that. And also receiving feedback is an even huger one, like huge. I'm going to be asking for feedback the rest of my life from everybody. Not from everybody, from the people whom I think will give me the feedback that people who I actually want to receive the feedback from, people who are very close to me, and especially people who I want to be like, people who I really look up to. So I'm definitely going to keep asking for feedback from certain people in my life who I really think that have a lot to offer me, not from the people who don't have what I want. If it's somebody who is living in a place in their life where I don't really want that, or I don't envy that, I'm probably not going to ask them for feedback, because maybe their feedback will come from a place that is not like resonant with where I'm at. So those are the 4 things that I'm committed to embodying. I'm really excited to embody these, and I've already started. So almost done, I promise. I'm going to read to you my commitment, my contract. We call it our contract, but it's like a commitment that I've made. And it's just a powerful statement around who I am. And this is the kind of thing that this is the sentence that I'm going to say when my ego is engaged, and where I'm coming from a place of my ego is taking over, or where I feel like I need to, or in a place where I'm not acting in accordance with my values, or I'm not, you get the idea. So whenever my ego is kind of engaged and I'm not coming from an authentic place or whatever, or when these pieces of feedback that I receive, when they start to show up, how can I respond from a powerful place and get myself back on track? The way to do that is to remind myself of my contract, which is, I am a transcendent, powerful, generous leader. And that's it. That's who I am. That's who I am, and that's who I strive to be. And everybody has their own. And this was a really powerful exercise. This was honestly a transcendent exercise in itself. Coming up with this sentence for myself was just, you wouldn't even believe what I went through to find these words. But I am a transcendent, powerful, generous leader. I've repeated this sentence God knows how many times since I created it. And whenever my ego shows up, that's how I can respond. I'm not going to resist my ego. I'm not going to deny my ego. I'm going to embrace it by repeating my contract. And, so that's the good way to do that. My vision, I'll tell you guys my vision, which is similar, except for my vision is more of, what do I want for my life in the future? What do I want for my life? Well, should I say, what do I want for my life right now? Because the future doesn't exist. But, wave a magic wand. And I encourage all of you to think about a vision for yourself, because, and this is not something that is fixed. It's not going to be my vision the rest of my life. This is right now what I want my vision. This is my vision for my life at this point of where I am. And the way to do this is, an easier way to come up with this vision is wave a magic wand. What do you want for your life? How do you want to feel? How do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? That's the kind of thing. And even if you don't know exactly what you want to be doing, you want to live I was just talking to a friend of mine her name's Gemma. She's here volunteering with me. And she asked me, when I read her my vision, she asked me, well, how easy is it to come up with a vision if you don't know what you want to be doing? She's very free spirit like me, and she wants to travel, and she wants to see where the wind takes her, and doesn't want to commit to anything, because she just wants to be free completely, and so she doesn't want this vision she doesn't want to create necessarily a vision, because she doesn't want to box herself into anything. And so I responded by well, that's a great question. And I just responded by saying, it doesn't have to be what do you want to be doing physically, but who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? Because I think no matter what, you can kind of most people can know what they want to feel, whether you know what you want out of life in general. But how do you want to feel? Most people want to feel happy, number one. A lot of people want to be free, happy. They want to have love, all of these kind of things. That can be an excellent vision. It doesn't have to be, I work at this job or have this much money, whatever, So for me, my vision is, I am a and this, by the way, I took a few words from my contract. I am a generous leader, traveling and changing the world with my message of love. And hence why one of the feedbacks that I got was message of love from an empty heart. That's why that one stung a little bit. I'm like, ooh, okay, well, that's my vision, so I need to look inward on that. But that's my vision. That's who I want to be. That's what I want my life to look like at this from this point of where I am right now. And so just if you want to create a vision for yourself, I would love to invite you to do this and to share it with me. And share it with as many people as you can, as many as you want, because the more you share this vision, the more it solidifies it, the more you're able to manifest it for yourself. But the two recommendations I'm going to make are, start with I am, or, in a present tense, because rather than saying I will, or I'm going to be, or I want, because those make it something in the future that you're reaching towards that you don't currently have. It's much better to embody it as if it's already here. Just manifestation wise. That's kind of the better way to do it. And then the second tip I will give you is to only use words of positivity. Rather than saying what you don't want, you should say what you do want. So instead of saying I don't want any more drama in my life, you would say I want, how would you even say that? I want a life of love and connection and positivity. That would be the opposite of having a lot of drama or negativity in your life. You see what I mean? So I will now give you my team's vision. This is the vision that I created the artwork for, that breakdown kind of happened around, and I'll give you the vision. And I will also be posting the artwork that I made around this vision that is essentially a visual representation of this vision. I'll be posting it on my Instagram in the next day or so, and so you can see. And the team vision is: we, the leaders of Breakthrough 14, are committed to creating a world of love, freedom, and connection for ourselves, our community, and the world. Woot woot. So that's our vision. And I'm going to be creating lots of artwork around these visions because I'm super inspired right now. Like, I've been completely out of my creative zone recently, and I was, through making this artwork for my team, I was able to kind of reconnect with how much I love to make Photoshop art. So I did another one for one of my teammates, asked me to make one for his vision and contract, and I am now doing that, or I just did that actually. And I'm going to hopefully make lots more. I'll make one for my own. And anyways, I want to know, and this is my final question to you. This is the final thing I'm going to leave you with. Actually, no. I want to tell you one more thing. Just one more nugget of wisdom that I forgot to mention somewhere in here. It's around... So something that I learned from in the course was to embrace fear. And so when you embrace fear, it will go away. And when you embrace your ego... To embrace your ego, you will laugh at it. So that's not the proper wording of any of this, but essentially, rather than to resist fear and resist your ego, rather than to resist anything that you don't necessarily want to control you, rather than resisting it, actually embrace it. So when it comes to your ego, rather than resisting it, because you're never going to get rid of your ego, and nor do you want to, right? You don't want to get rid of your ego. It's something that you were born with for a reason. It's okay to have an ego. It's actually essential to have an ego. It keeps you safe at times. It does things for you, especially for for many people, the ego is what gets you to be so successful in life, is to it's kind of how people have evolved, especially, men have been evolved from the beginning of time, fighting and hunting and gathering and all these because of their egos, like, allowed them to do all of these things. So that's just kind of a different story, but essentially the ego is not to be resisted, it's to be embraced. And the way to embrace your ego is to become aware of it when it comes up and laugh at it. And it takes a special person to be able to see their ego, for one, because a lot of people are not even aware of their ego when it comes up, and they are just operating from ego a lot of their life. And that is why relationships are not successful. That is why divorce is so prevalent, is because people are operating out of their egos all the time without noticing it, and just thinking that that's just how life is supposed to be. So rather than fighting your ego, rather than resisting it, embrace it by laughing at it. So we learned many times to laugh at our egos throughout this weekend, and it just makes it so much more fun when you're like, oh, my ego is engaged, let's just laugh at it like as if it's something separate from you, because then it doesn't feel like, then it's not able to control you, because it's not you, right? So embrace fear and it will go away. Embrace ego by laughing at it. Embrace fear. Like, don't resist fear. don't fear fear itself. Embrace fear by embrace fear. Sorry. Embrace fear and it will go away. So if you're afraid of heights, go jump off a airplane and skydive, whatever, something like this. Embrace it and own it and be like, I'm afraid right now, so I'm gonna lean into that and do exactly what I'm afraid to do. Like, because how else are you gonna grow? Are you gonna live in fear your whole life? Sounds pretty lame if you ask me. So that's it. Okay, and now I'm gonna leave you with the one question that I was about to say before. What is your vision? So I would love to hear your vision. Please, put this up on your story if you want. Tag me at Friendly Frequencies around what your vision is. I would love to hear it, and or message it to me, send me a voice memo, whatever you want to do. But I just want to encourage you that, whether you have a vision already or whether you want to create one now, whether maybe I inspired you to come up with a vision for your life, I'm going to encourage you to, as much as it is kind of scary to share that vision with other people because of the fear of judgment or whatever it is, I'm going to encourage you to embrace that fear and to lean into it. So, if you were thinking of messaging me your vision, I would love to hear it. So please, I'm happy to hear a message from you. But I'm going to encourage you, is it because you're afraid to post it and to let people see your vision? You don't want other people to hear that you have a vision because of whatever reason? Well, I'd say I'm going to encourage you to lean into that and to post your vision. Let as many people see it as possible. You're going to inspire so many other people if you do it this way. That's how you change the world, is by taking no matter what fears you have around this, to do it anyways, and to instead of letting fear control your life, you're doing what is going to have a bigger impact. And so that's what I'm committed to doing. And that's why I went live on my story. We had a assignment during the course to go live, or not to go live, but to take this public, take it beyond the walls of our course. And sorry, I'm distracted by a giant wasp beside me. We were instructed to, connect with people outside the walls of our course. And so I went live, and lots of us actually went live, and were able to share our visions and to connect with people and ask what their visions are. But obviously not that many people saw the live. And so, yeah, I'm going to encourage you to share your vision with me and with the rest of the world, because that's how we change the world. So with that, thank you so, so much for bearing with me on this really long episode. Definitely the longest solo episode I've ever had. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you some value, because I surely received so much value this weekend, and I'm glad that I was able to share as much of it as I could with you. And, that's as much as I can share, but if you have any more questions for me about what my experience was, any follow-up questions, I'll answer as much as I'm able to without giving up any confidentiality of the course. And feedback is always welcome. Like I said, give me some feedback, you guys, whatever feedback that is. And that also goes with my next request, which is to leave me a review, please, on Spotify, or even better, leave it on iTunes, because I think that's the better way to do it. So if you want to go on iTunes, leave me a review. I would love and appreciate you so much, but I love and appreciate you no matter what, because you're here and you're listening and you're just a beautiful human being. So thank you so much for listening. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah.